again, friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Amy, and I'm glad you decided to join me for chapter 60 of the book that I wrote, Legends Orbs of the Elements. As always, if you are interested in finding out where you can pick this book up for yourself, or a friend, or a colleague, or a family member, I will be leaving all that fun information at the end of the video, so be staying tuned for that. And without further ado, let's just jump right back into this adventure. Can you believe that it's chapter 60 already? Holy moly. Chapter 60. Miggltura, the elven king, saw out of the corner of his eyes a face he had only heard about. He called out, "Hunter, is that you?" Leon swiftly approached when he heard the elvish king's voice. Miggltura put a comforting hand on his shoulder and patted it in a friendly way. "What's wrong? Where's the legend?" Leon was breathing heavily. He pointed. Miggltura looked in the direction Leon was pointing. He took her! He took her! Nero has Castilia!" The older elf took action. "Come, we must get her out of there." Leon paused and shook his head. "No, I can't leave her in there," he shouted with a bit of desperation in his voice. Leon looked at the elven king's appearance. It was clear to anyone he had battled hard. "Listen, Hunter, if you are dead, it will be for nothing, and for now, Nero won't kill Castilia. He needs her. Besides, if we charge at him, that's exactly what Nero will want and predict. Let's not give him more leverage than what he has. Now, please, let's go regroup." Leon frowned and followed the elven man out of the fortress and into the surrounding area. Riplin and the others with him were about to leave when Riplin spied both Miggltura and Leon. He made haste to meet them. The expression on both their faces told Riplin all was not right. The elf explained to Riplin that there was a change of plan. They all gathered around in a circle so Leon could explain to all what had transpired. None present spoke out of line or interrupted him. The information Leon was giving out was too important. At last, Oakland spoke. "Riplin, I think it's time for the beasts to show themselves. Elves, you'll be next, and to the other side as we have discussed before. Legends, you will follow, and as for the flyers, we'll take to the sky in an air assault. Any objections or better ideas? Speak now." "I want to assist in the rescue," Jacob said. Oakland looked at the speaker and agreed with a nod. Seal 2 voiced his desire to help in the rescue mission. Thus, a new plan of attack was birthed. While the others made an assault as a distraction too great for Nero to ignore, Leon, Seal, and Jacob would slip in and rescue Castilia, even if it meant death. After the meeting was ended, Leon, Seal, and Jacob sat close together and went over the plan in more detail. "How is my sister? I hope she isn't too burdensome to you," Jacob said, lightening the mood slightly. Leon could not help but smile. He put his cup of hot cider and a bowl of soup and bread the others had given him after the meeting was over. The warm meal and beverage felt good in Leon and kept his energy up. "Burdensome, yes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. She has taught me many things, and I will forever be grateful for her." Seal understood how concerned Jacob must be feeling. Jacob smiled faintly. "Thank you, Leon, for those kind words." He then got up and began to pace. Leon was going to follow him, but Seal held him back. "No, my friend. Let him go. Let him be." Leon looked in the direction Castilia's brother had gone. Leon finished his meal and stretched his legs out. He unlaced his boots and rubbed his tired feet. He rotated his ankles and then, once they felt loosened, put his feet back in his boots and laced them up. Seal this time had been sipping his tankard of cider quietly. Leon leaned back on his hands and spoke. Seal, have you ever used any of your extra lives? Seal raised his eyebrow. He had a far-off look in his eyes. Background noise from the other warriors could be heard in the distance. Seal put his tankard down and brought his knees up to his chest in a sitting position. I am blessed by the elements during my life so far. I have not, but I have been very close, more than not. Why, you ask? Leon shrugged his shoulders before replying. I wish I was a legend. There are just some things I do not understand. He trailed off as if he couldn't finish what his thoughts was. Seal nodded sadly. In life there are many things I confess I do not understand, which is why we need to hold fast to the things in this life that matter. Laughter, joy of simple pleasures, camaraderie, friendship, learning new skills, and love. Leon eyed the male legend next to him. When did you become so wise? Leon said. Seal responded by grinning. I've spent my time with a lot of old legends, and trust me, it wasn't pleasant all the time. The two broke in laughter. Once their laughter died down, Leon beheld something he had never imagined seeing. Seal, aware that his friend was distracted, suddenly followed Leon's eyes. Seal, what are those? Leon asked. Seal began to explain when Miggltura came up to them. Seal now stood up to take his leave. The leader of the elves sat next to Leon. Those are Roosevelt elk, a very rare breed. We elves ride them, mostly during battle, but they can be ridden like horses if need be. We are the only race that were able to do it. Would you like to pet one? Miggltura offered. Leon politely declined. The wise elf, however, knew better. Come, Leon, hunter of the orbs. They won't hurt you. With that, Leon and Miggltura stood up, and Leon followed at a polite distance. Miggltura signaled a big, large elk to come to him. The animal willingly came. The graceful animal stamped his hoof a few times. The elf agreed at the elk when they locked eyes with one another. My friend here tells me he thanks you for your effort, past and present. Leon felt he had failed so far. The mature male elk moved his head so Leon could pet it, much in the same gesture a horse would. Leon reached out and stroked the soft, velvet-like dark brown hair on his muzzle and forehead. While Leon stroked the Roosevelt elk, Miggltura took an opportunity to suggest to his friend to get some rest. Night was now upon them. He would wake him when the time came to head back to the fortress. But before he trotted off to take his rest, Miggltura lightly hinted that he might want to take the opportunity to use the makeshift infirmary area the elves had set up for not only dressing wounds, but for bathing. Leon took his friend's advice and did use the bathing facilities. After washing all the grit and grime from the journey and the long day's dirt off of him, he was provided with fresh sets of clothing, with a fresh set of clean trousers and a plain cotton shirt. Leon then strolled to another part of the camp where there were both padded medium-sized mattresses that could be easily rolled up at a moment's notice, but an average-sized man could sleep on. The elves informed him that they would wash his clothes and would be ready and brought to him before he headed to the home base for the prince. Leon took a deep breath and lay down on one. His body responded in kind, and he quickly fell into a restful sleep. Leon was jolted into wakefulness just as the first rays of sun peeked from the horizon. Leon rubbed the sleep from his eyes and noticed folded neatly next to him were his own clean clothes. He dressed as swiftly and quietly as he could because there were other warriors sleeping still as well. This is it, he thought to himself as he laced up his brown leather boots. He was going to help rescue Castilia. As he met up with both Seal and Jacob, they heard a noise not far away. As the noise got closer, they observed that it was a group of men and a few women. Oakland, Miggletoura, and Riplin all came up to them. "What are you doing here? What do you want?" Riplin asked gruffly. By the way these men were dressed and their demeanor, the others could easily tell this group was ungifted and commoners, depending on where one grew up. This ungifted group carried simple weapons. They weren't clothed in any armor or protective equipment, which wasn't promising if they wanted to engage in combat. The man who apparently oversaw the group replied, "We are commoners, but we also want to fight and win back our land from the tyrant Prince Nero." Miggletoura scoffed. Now Leon, Seal, and Jacob paused and looked at the faces of the ungifted ones before they set off once more. Leon silently observed that a few of the ungifted seemed scared to be among elves and others who used or had magic and didn't use it for ill. Miggletoura crossed his arms. "I say no," he said flatly, with no emotions. He had also spoken in common tongue, so the commoners could understand. Oakland seemed to be debating and weighing his options more. He gave a sideways glance at Riplin, but remained mute. At last, Oakland and Riplin appeared to have made a decision and voiced their opinions to the group. "All of you have journeyed a long way, but war is not a game or an adventure. It is a battle to the death. It involves sacrifice, sorrow, heartache, and courage. We cannot guarantee you will live to see the end of this. We ourselves might not see the end of this." Here, he paused for effect as he spied some of the group stirring. He continued, "At the same time, if you still wish for bloodshed or a chance to make a difference, you may stay." He emphasized the last two words and gave Miggletoura a hard, knowing look. It was clear the elf wasn't thrilled about the group of ungifted. He wasn't thrilled about the group of ungifted. There was nodding and agreement among the new group that was with them. Riplin could sense the same fear and apprehension that Leon had left not long ago. Miggletoura turned toward the other two with him and spoke some Elvish. At those words, both Riplin and Oakland looked at him. They wore a mixture of concern and disapproval on their faces. Oakland was about to put the Elven King in his place because all this was in front of the group of ungifted, and the leader of the men interrupted Oakland and asked in an offended tone of voice, "What did he say? I can tell when a man talks bad about another. If I can't understand the exact, even I can't understand the, even if I can't understand the exact words," he barked. Oakland held up a hand to separate them. Riplin sighed and made an announcement. "Get your weapons ready, commoners. We will leave very soon." The leader turned to the other who had joined him. "You heard him." The group dispatched to different spots in the camp. The three leaders, Oakland, Miggletoura, and Riplin, remained where they stood. Miggletoura had seen much bloodshed in his time. My friends, you know as well as I that these ungifted ones are not suited for battle. Some you can tell were frightened of me. What makes you think they can slay our enemy when the time comes? I am not being harsh because I feel superior to them. I know the courage of the ungifted as much as any. I want to hate war as any leader does, and I want to spare their lives from the horrors of war. We can all see it in their eyes and faces, Micheltura concluded passionately. It was clear that it pained him to say these things. Oakland could relate. It was not just the commoners they were putting out on the battlefield, but they were putting their trained, seasoned men with them. It was not it was often not a good combination because the more experienced men had to keep an eye on the less experienced man in case the worst was to happen and not focus on the enemy. Plus, they were risking their skilled warriors, and it was foolish to assume none would get injured or even die. The chances were steeping against them that a lot of them would not make it home or to the next year. The other two nodded in agreement with the elf. Ripplin rubbed the back of his neck and looked at the ground before raising his head and speaking his mind confidently. I do feel strongly, though, that we can't just send them away. It's amazing they got this far on their own, Ripplin said dryly and to the point. Oakland eyed the group and rested his hands on the hilts of his gladius swords that he wore on each hip. His swords were fashioned with two sharp edges that tapered to a pointed end. These swords were designed for both thrusting and hacking, especially at close quarters. Oakland was silent as he was melding things over in his head. The other two talked back and forth. How does this sound? We each take a handful of them with us. That way, perhaps not all will die, Oakland said. When he spoke, the other two quit talking. Micheltura shrugged his shoulders and nodded sadly. The meeting had not gone like he had hoped. I don't like it, but if that is the wish of the two of you, I will argue no further. Now both Ripplin and Oakland nodded. The Elven King spoke. Then let it be done. Good luck to the both of you. And gave them each a respectful nod and left the other two. Ripplin now called Trigger to them. Trigger waited. Oakland filled the spirit of their new scheme. Oakland filled in the spirit with their new plan. It was a risky move, but if it worked, it would be worth it. After informing Trigger, both he and Ripplin went their separate ways to attend to their own warriors. Each group began to assemble things for the bloody battle that would decide the fate of the world as they knew it. So that is all the chapter for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue on with this series, my book can be found on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Apple iBooks, and lots of other places books are sold. If you are interested in just finding out more information about my writing style and technique, how I crafted and created the characters, all that kind of fun stuff can be found on my Facebook page called Legends Orbs of the Elements. There I try and write an article Monday through Friday about different aspects of my book, as I have said before. I try to keep the articles as spoiler-free as possible, so if you are enjoying this book and just want to continue listening to it, but want to read about how I came up with how I created the names of Leon and Castelia, how I created and came up with the 3 baddies, Nero, Rifa, and Blinken. You guys will not be spoiled by that. If you like this kind of content and want to follow me on other social medias, I can be found on Instagram at Idaho Disney Book Dragon. I can be found on TikTok at Idaho Disney Book Dragon or something similar to that. There I try to do more of fun things with concerning my second book, Legends 2, Rise of the Soul Collector. But I also do fun stuff there on my Instagram. I just do other fun stuff, non-book related, and just fun stuff. So if you're interested in following me there, please go and do that. I am working on a giveaway this year. Once I reach 200 subscribers, I'm going to be doing an awesome, fun giveaway, which will include Canada. So if you are interested, if you've been watching these videos and like them but aren't subscribed, please think about subscribing. That would be awesome. The more the merrier. I love seeing new people come to my channel, and it just makes me happy. I love sharing things about my book, and my love of books and Disney and all kinds of other things. So if you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing. That would be awesome. And as they say in my story, may the elements protect you. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another chapter. Bye-bye for now, everybody.